Mortal Kombat 11 has more special moves than any MK game before it, and as a result, you can now customize your favorite characters to your heart's content. But with that said, you can also use certain moves to ruin your opponent's online experience, because there are certain attacks in this game that are downright broken. So today, let's count down the 5 most powerful custom attacks in Mortal Kombat 11. Number 5. Shang Tsung's Soul Swap. Now this thing might not be absurdly ridiculous, but it certainly is very, very cheap. So as you may have seen on screen, this move is unblockable, which means once Shang Tsung gets started, if you allow his animation to play, it's happening. It doesn't matter if you're blocking, and furthermore, it doesn't even matter if you're jumping or if you're in the middle of an attack. If he gets the animation through, he is going to do it. Doesn't matter if you're in the air, if you're just now leaving the ground. This thing is going to happen, and you do switch places. So if you're a certain character and he switches when you're full screen, what are you gonna do if you don't have a teleport? Like, what are you gonna do? He just pretty much gets to have this if he's far enough away. Now with that said, there are of course characters who can punish it, like Devore for example. She has a teleport in one variation, which is going to happen no matter what. Even if you soul swap at the last possible second, her teleport does still connect. However, with that said, there are some teleports that do miss entirely if you time soul swap correctly. And furthermore, even if a character is fast enough to punish it, you can just mix it around in certain situations where they're not expecting it, and it's still pretty much guaranteed to happen. So for example, let's say I do the meter burn fireball. How plus is that? Plus 16, and the opponent's pretty far away. This soul swap is only 33 frames on startup, so against a lot of characters, especially if they're not expecting it, this soul swap is completely guaranteed. What are you gonna do about it? And then as the opponent's getting up, you can do it as well. If you land this and then go for it, a lot of characters can't punish you on startup, and they can't punish you for doing it either. And that's a scary thought, because keep in mind this move does 50 damage and it is unblockable. So a combo that was 28% is now 33%. Or let's say a somewhat optimal combo like this. So that combo did around 31%, but add the soul steal and suddenly it's doing 36%, and it didn't cost me any meter, and we're full screen, so once again, very tough to punish. Now thankfully, if Shang Tsung wants to do this to end combos, there are 2 very easy ways to avoid it. You can either do an invincible wake up if he's close, or do a delayed wake up if he's very far away. This will ensure the soul swap misses entirely, but a smart Shang Tsung could just delay it and then do the soul swap as you're getting up. Once again, this move isn't completely unfair, as there are ways to punish it, and against certain characters it's not that strong, but just imagine you're low on health and you only have 5% health remaining. If he gets this move started, you're pretty much guaranteed to die. And then let's imagine you're a character without any far-reaching normals or fast teleports or any way to close the gap quickly. Once Shang Tsung is far away and starts this, it's pretty much guaranteed damage. Now imagine he just does it twice in a row because he feels like it. That's 10% damage that you couldn't block or interrupt. It's certainly a very scary move against a lot of characters, so thankfully you can't use it in Kombat League. Number 4. Jackie's Hyper Knee. If you thought Jackie did damage before, then be very grateful she doesn't have this move in any of her tournament variations. For starters, 70 damage, that's really good, and it hits mid. Now thankfully it is punishable on block, but if she amplifies, it's only -1, so check that out. Gonna tell Devore to block here. And now it's unpunishable if you don't duck, and you do have to neutral duck, and then you will get a full combo, but even so, there are characters like Scorpion and Kano who catch us time and time again trying to punish them early, only for them to amplify and catch us off guard. So while the follow-up is completely duckable and fully punishable, if you want to punish the regular version too early, the opponent can amplify and catch you off guard. It's honestly quite sneaky. But honestly, you don't even need this move in the neutral. That's not why it's scary. If this move ends a combo of 8 or more hits, she gets a crushing blow. And that's not tough for Jackie when she has a move like this that already does 6 hits. So for example, here's a very basic Jackie combo. Boom, a very easy 37%, and in case you're wondering, yes, you can amplify it after the crushing blow for even more damage. This special move barely scales at all and adds a ton of damage to the end of any combo. So that's already pretty strong, but keep in mind we're talking about Jackie here, who can combo after a lot of her crushing blows, which means she can now potentially shove 3 crushing blows into a single combo for a ton of damage. So this move might not seem super strong on other characters, or even Jackie if she doesn't have certain tools, but in custom combat, when you can pair this move with other abilities she has, it becomes very, very strong. Number 3. Garris's Reawakened special move. Now this move is essentially what Jason did in MKX, but you just have to activate it. And while the activation is quite long, it takes 78 frames to start up, keep in mind Garris can just do this. and you had no way to stop me from doing it. So there are some guaranteed ways he can set up this move, and it guarantees that he'll be revived upon death, and from what I can tell, there's not even a timer on it, which I thought there would be initially. And please let me know down in the comments if there in fact is, but from what I've seen, there's no visual indication of when it runs out. Once you do the move, it seems like you're guaranteed revival upon death, which is already scary for a character like Garris, who can basically fart his way to killing you. The guy does a lot of damage and it's very easy. Look at that, 32%, and it wasn't even difficult. And on top of that, even if you kill me, I can just come back to life and use my mini crushing blows and my mini damaging combos to steal the win. Now thankfully this move does have some weaknesses. For starters, this move only becomes possible if your opponent's already won a round, and even then you can't use it a second time if you win that second round. So in other words, it's only once per match. But even so, the ability to come back from the dead is really strong, especially for a character like Garris, who has very damaging combos and a ton of crushing blows. Number 2, Frost's Core Trap. This thing is actually quite ridiculous. Now thankfully it does cost meter, but outside of that it is a ridiculously overpowered move. So real quick, a basic rundown of what this move does. For starters, the opponent takes more damage when they're inside of it, so this projectile just did 87, but normally it's only 78, so already that's pretty scary. You're taking more damage just for being inside of it. But what's truly scary is the sides. Much like Operation, you don't want to touch them, because if you do, you get frozen and you can't even control it. It's unblockable. And maybe that wouldn't be a big deal unless Frost didn't already have the ability to freeze you and then set it up, and pretty much guarantee you get refrozen again with certain setups. So for example, here's a very basic one. You freeze the opponent, set up the trap, and then go for a forward throw. If the opponent doesn't duck it or jump away, they'll be frozen for a full combo. And what's craziest about this setup to me is the opponent is treated as standing despite clearly being off the ground with their frozen, but even so, great for Frost, that's a full combo. But let's say the opponent loves to press buttons or they love to jump. In that situation, you can just do down 1 into micro burst, and once again they're frozen against their will, and there is a way to escape it, but it involves blocking, in which case you can just throw, so you probably get the idea. No matter what escape attempt you go for, the opponent does have a way to counter it while using Frost. In fact, Frost can actually freeze her opponent up to 2 times with these setups, and those 2 setups combined with her final combo leads to over 50% damage with just a single setup. Now once again, this move does cost meter, but thank God it's not possible in Kombat League, because if it was, we'd all be throwing our controllers. Even myself, who loves to play Frost from time to time, has to admit this move is very cheap, so if Variation 4 ever happens and they want to add this move, it does have to be tweaked a bit, because as of right now, it certainly is quite broken. Number 1, Terminators Terminate. You knew this one was coming. Now once again, it does thankfully cost meter, and this time 1 defensive bar and 1 offensive bar. But even so, it is unlimited super armor for a very long amount of time. And that's quite scary, because Terminator literally is a mix-up machine, no pun intended. If you're blocking high, the guy has a meterless low starter that leads to some pretty decent damage. And then if you're blocking low, he also has an overhead, which in certain variations can also lead to a full combo. It might cost you meter, but even so, he is a legitimate 50-50 character. And normally these moves are very slow, so it can be easy to interrupt them, but once again, infinite armor, which means you have to block these things. And even if you do have the defense of a god, don't forget Terminator has an unblockable command grab as well, which in certain variations leads to a crushing blow of its own that starts combos. And on top of that, infinite armor also means you can't punish Terminator for doing something risky, so for example that overhead into throw. If I know that's coming, I can normally duck and then punish. Nope, here I can't. The most I can do is maybe an uppercut or a couple of hits, but every single thing will not interrupt him, which means he can punish me for trying to punish him, even though he's the one who did something unsafe. So not only does the armor mean you can't interrupt his mix-ups, but even if you make the right read, you can't even punish him for doing these mix-ups either. Now thankfully, it is possible to interrupt this move on startup, but its startup is so ridiculously fast that it's not likely to happen unless the opponent is just stupid when they activate it. Because obviously the best choice would be just to combo into it, and before the opponent's even up, you already have the armor activated and ready to go. Now thankfully the game does try its best to balance this by not allowing Terminator to dash or jump or even block, but it doesn't really matter when he has a move called Running Man, which allows him to close the gap very quickly on the opponent. And not just that, but Running Man also has options if the opponent tries to jump away, so it's a very powerful move in general, and now it has infinite armor. Not to mention, this move can also start off combos in the corner without spending any meter, so once again a fantastic pairing for Terminate. And in case you didn't know, this move can also combo into its own crushing blow, which makes it even stronger still. So Running Man was already very powerful on its own, but now it has armor to make it even more powerful. It's honestly quite ironic how Terminator has the best move in the game and the worst move in the game all at the same time, and they're both locked behind custom variations, which is a good thing, but once again I just find it to be a very funny coincidence. This Terminate special move is so strong that it's one of the main reasons I'm glad that I never feel compelled to play custom combat, because if I did and had to deal with this move, I would be very, very frustrated. But please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Which attack do you think is the best in the game? And then while you're down there, go ahead and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.